What's happening, everybody? This is the Pro Sports and Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Real. Man, today I got a banger for y'all again. Can Colorado win the Big 12 and eventually move on to the playoffs? This is the first year of the 12-team format for the 2024 season. So, man, I'm super excited about that. And I'm a Colorado fan. Of course, I'm from Carolina, so I root for the Gamecocks and also Clemson. I played at SC State and also at Johnson C. Smith. So, I didn't play for the Gamecocks or Clemson. So I just kind of walked that line. But I also root for Dion, man. I'm a big fan of what he's doing out there in CU in Colorado. He's actually bringing some top talent, man. He got T. Hunter out there. He got the son, Shador. He's been also hitting that transfer portal. So I do believe that he'll make some noise this year in 2024, dog. And he'll win some games. Now, will he make the playoffs? I'm not sure. I'm hoping he does. He has right now two new coordinators, one on offense and also one on defense. Shermer is the OC and Sean Livingston is the DC. He's from the Bengals. So he's been around the block a few times, but now he's in college. So he was at Denver as well. A lot of Denver fans don't love the fact that he's the OC now, but Shador has a relationship with him. Last year, it seems like the OC that they had, him and Shador, wasn't on the same page. Now, this year, here going forward, hopefully the offensive line, they can hold up. They've brought in 4 or 5 new offensive linemen in the portal. A few of them have decent draft grades. So they may go round 3, 4, 5, even 6 or 7. It's okay. So a lot better than what they had last year. A lot of people are saying, well, they went 4-8 last year. Why are they ranked in the top 10 on offense on NCAA? Well, it's a new college football game, as they call it now. But it's not the same team, man. They have a lot of new talent. They got a receiver from Vanderbilt, their top guy. They also got LaJohntay Webster, one of the best wideouts in the country, man. He's ranked like in the top 5 in almost every stat in the country. So he'll show up big time. He's looking to make some bread too. He's going to the NFL more than likely next year. They still got Jimmy Horn back, of course, Travis Hunter. They got some defensive guys too. Let's look at the roster here. They added a corner from Liberty. Preston Hodge. He's pretty good, man. He was the top rated player at Liberty through PFF. 6 foot, just about 200-pound guy. He could have got drafted this year if he went out. So him coming, that's a big pickup. He was one of the better DBs in the country. He left right before the bowl game when they got slaughtered by Oregon. They also got it's actually Wester, his brother. He's a linebacker as well. And also, man, they need some linebacker play. The linebacker play last year, just being honest, was below par. Levante Bentley's back, but hopefully they'll have a linebacker or two step up and play a lot better than what they had last year. They cannot stop the run, man. A lot of games I watched, they were getting gashed. I'm not sure if they knew their assignments. People were out of gap a lot. That was a big deal. 10 here, Wester, LaJohntay. He's going to be a big part of the offense, in my opinion. I think he'll go for 1,000 plus. I'll say 8 plus also touchdowns or so. He was a big deal at Florida Atlantic. He broke a lot of their school records here, as you can see, man. He had 21 touchdowns, 2,703 yards, man, for his career there. So I'm pretty sure he'll be looking to bring that over to Colorado and make some noise there as well. Team will have a lot more talent than what they had last year, especially up front. I know, that the outside guys and the receivers, all of that is nice, but if you don't have the up front guys who can pave lanes, also hold up against pass rush, man, it might not matter too much anyway. So you got to have the big boys up front. Yakari Walker is a transfer offensive lineman in there from Connecticut. I don't think he'll start, but he's a good depth piece. Tyler Brown, he's back from last year. He did not play because of transfer rules that they have now changed. So he would have played if it was under this rule. But I think he's one of their better offensive linemen. You got Hank. He was a freshman last year. He played a couple games, and I think they won every game he started. So he'll probably be starting up front there at center. Justin Mayers, he's projected to go in the top 4 or 5 rounds in the draft. He's one of the best offensive linemen that they got in, if not the best. This is exactly what they need, man. This is why the people who are saying, yeah, they went 4-8, they're wrong, because they have people like Justin Mayers, who was one of the best linemen in his conference. He played at UTEP, I believe, here. Yep, he played at UTEP, and he was one of the best linemen at UTEP, if not the best. And also, he started 35 games. So they're not just getting the scrubs or the backups who did not play. They're getting team's best guys coming over here to see you. Look at some more here. Khalil Benson, in a lot of the well-off videos, he has been a vocal leader. He also has been stepping up in the one-on-one pass rush stuff, looking pretty good too, man. 6'6", 305. He's a big boy from down south, down there in Mississippi. Played at Indiana, played in 24 games. He was there for a season. Not saying that they have an SEC offensive line. That's not what I'm getting at, but they were one of the worst teams in the country last year, dog, when it came to upfront play, running the ball. So even if they can be a fraction better, halfway better, man, they'll win more games for sure than 4. I think they can get, my opinion, 8 to 9 games next year. And potentially, if that talent meets the coaching and they can gel and mesh, they can potentially win the Big 12, in my opinion. I don't think there are any like juggernauts that, hey, they just can't beat. You know, they're just too good. They almost beat Utah last year in the Pac-12 with their backup QB. Pac-12 called back about 3 touchdowns that game. Take that for what you want. Tyler Johnson as well, man. He's one of the best linemen on their team that they picked up. I project him to start. Big boy, 325, man, 6'5". I think he'll get drafted, honestly, probably in the top 4 rounds. So if he shows up and play, he'll get a bag, and also he'll make CU better too. So that's always a plus there when you got 4 or 5 new offensive linemen who are in, who can start. And also, not to mention, they have the superstar 5-star freshman Jordan Seaton. There from IMG down there in Florida. He was a 5-star prospect, number 1 tackle in the country on most sites except for On 3. Most times On 3, they like to drop down the Colorado guys for some reason. But, man, he'll be a top dog. He's a big boy. He was the consensus number 1 offensive tackle in the country. So they have some talent now, man. This is not a 4-8 team. So people are just saying that are haters. Most times they're not looking at the facts. If they go 4-8, I'll be highly shocked. Like I said, minimum I see them winning is about 7-8. I'll say 8 games at the minimum. They may lose about 4 games or so, just because, because everything has to gel, and it doesn't happen overnight. They have new coordinators, a new OC, a new DC. So Coach Prime and that team, if they can gel faster, yes, they can win the Big 12. But if not, I see them taking a few losses potentially early, but still having a great season from coming from a 1-win team about 2 years ago. Let's look at their schedule. I want to give my prediction game by game. I think they beat North Dakota State pretty handily. North Dakota State is a powerhouse in, well, I call it D1AA. I predict that they win against North Dakota State pretty easily. In my opinion, they win by at least 17 points or so. Nebraska at Nebraska. I think this will be a tougher game than it was last year for sure. Nebraska has done some recruiting. They've got a few guys in. They've hit the portal. They've got the number one QB from last year, Raiola, who switched from Georgia. But in my opinion, I think CU has the overall talent advantage. They'll be playing with their true freshmen. I see CU winning this game by 10 points or more. Colorado State, huge game last year, man. All of the news, all of the it's personal stuff. Their coach, hey, I don't wear my hat and sunglasses, stuff like that when I'm talking to people. So I predict this game will get pretty sticky, but CU has the big talent advantage this year over Colorado State. They didn't really last year, man. Honestly, CU was not as talented as they are now. I predict them blowing out them by at least 14 or so points. Baylor, they'll beat Baylor at home by 10 or more points. This is a tricky one at Central Florida. I believe they still pull out the dub. I think they got more talent. It'll be a close game, though. I see them winning by 4 points or so, and it'll go down to the wire in the fourth quarter just because it'll be action-packed, man. It'll be a packed crowd. Prime is back in Florida. He loves Florida because he recruits Florida, so he definitely needs to have a good performance, in my opinion, in Florida, and I think he'll pull it off. Kansas State at home, October 12th. Starting to get a little chilly, probably in Boulder. Kansas State is a pretty good football team, man. They're predicted to win the conference or at least be in second or so. Or I believe CU takes a loss here. I believe it's a close game all the way into the end. I believe that Kansas State, just with the experience, they pull it off by about 3 points. I'll say like a late field goal. And so that's the first loss of the season, and it'll be a close game. Arizona at Arizona. Last year, I believe CU could have beat Arizona, in my opinion. They do have some talent. They got that receiver. He's a top guy. He's huge too, man. He's like 6'5" out there. He's hard to guard in the red zone. So they should probably try to put 2 on him down there. I remember last year he beat T. Hunter for a fade route, and it was pretty easy because he's so big. So they need to put some help on them in the red zone. But in my opinion, CU has the overall talent, and they take the dub here pretty easily. I say they win by 7 points or more. I say easy, but hey, 7 points is a lot if you're talking about Vegas, right? Now, we got Cincinnati. I think CU beat Cincinnati, even though Cincinnati is an up-and-coming team. Cincinnati at home, they're coming to Folsom. They pull it out. I'll say they win by 7 points or so. All right, now we got Texas Tech. Texas Tech is going to be an okay football team. They lost a lot of seniors off of last year's team. At Texas Tech, though, so still a close game. I think CU still pulls it out by a touchdown or so. Now, Utah at Folsom Field at home. This is probably the biggest matchup of the year, or one of them for CU. They both came over from the Pac-12. Utah beat CU last year at home, but like I said, they called back a few touchdowns that I thought was questionable. My opinion, I think CU has the overall talent, but you can't sleep on Utah, man. They have Cam Rising. They have some great talent, man. Even though he did not play last year, he's back. This is a tough one, man. Probably one of the tougher ones for me to call. I say they beat Utah at home by a field goal. It'll be a late field goal. They pull off the win. Going to Kansas. Kansas has a solid football team. They have a good quarterback, man. They got some talent back as well. I think at Kansas, CU takes a loss by close, narrow, by about 4 points or so. It's a close game all the way out, but Kansas ends up squeaking it out. Oklahoma State at home, big game. If they beat Oklahoma State, depending on the conference, depending on the records, they could potentially win the Big 12 or at least go to the championship game. I think they pull it off against Oklahoma State in a nail biter. Let's say 49-42. CU takes the dub and wins the conference. They stop the running back. Well, not stop him. We'll slow him down, hold them to maybe like 120 yards or less, and they win that game. I think Travis Hunter will go crazy if they're in position to actually win or go to the conference game by beating O State. That's it, man. I have them losing 2 games right now. Now that could change, but right now, man, I think CU is in great position to win the Big 12. They have a lot of talent. 2 games may not get it done if they lose that, but hey, that's a pretty good season. If they only lose that amount, I am definitely rooting for Dion, man. And it's prime. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a little biased, but at the end of the day, that's who I will be rooting for. Now, I think they can win at least 8 or 9 games for sure. Like I said, I'm a little biased. I want them to win, as much as possible. But this is the Pro Sports and Gaming Podcast channel. I'm your host, Real Man. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Tap in. Let's get it.